The men's chamber match has LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, and Kevin Owens. They did an angle with Lashley on SmackDown where he was attacked with a chair shot by Karrion Kross, so he had his arm wrapped up as a result of this. Knight and Drew begin, and this was really tough for Drew McIntyre and LA Knight because not only were they starting what was going to be nearly a 40-minute match, but they had the jet lag coming in from SmackDown last night where they closed the show. I mean, it was like just really, really close that they were even going to make it here.
Unbelievable. They're workhorses, aren't they?
That's clearly as well. Yeah. So it's amazing. Everyone in this match made it safely from last night's SmackDown.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
There's a CM Punk chant at the beginning. First time in like a decade that they've welcomed a CM Punk chant. And Drew does the GTS gesture as he lifts up Knight, but Knight stops that. And the Knight just rams Drew's head into the pods, including Kevin Owens' pod, where Owens is smashing the pod from inside as Drew's head is connecting.
That bulletproof plexiglass?
Yep. If bullets wouldn't get through this, but Drew's head might. And then we had the Slim Jim countdown clock, and the first time it shows up, they just plaster it in right over the screen. I was like, is this the ultimate like make good to Slim Jim? But it seemed like it was an error. Yeah. Kevin Owens comes in and he choke slams LA Knight, and they inform us he never does choke slams, but he promised a Make-A-Wish child he would hit a choke slam. That was their request in this match, so that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very great gesture. I mean, what if the kid suggested something like a shooting star press?
Put LA Knight through a flaming table.
Let's would have done it.
Let's tone it down a little. Owens hits a codebreaker senton combo to Drew, landing on top of LA Knight, and then he goes to the corner and right in front of Randy does the Randy Orton pose on the turnbuckle, and Randy looked none too impressed with this. Bobby Lashley comes in next. Randy Orton is in fifth and hits a draping DDT to Kevin Owens, landing on the floor. And Randy Orton selling his back. This man can sell his back from now until the end of his career, and it will be believable. I thought he was amazing selling this back for the rest of the match. This was like another 20 minutes or so of selling this back, and it was off like something so simple, like a draping DDT. This man, like this last portion of his career, however long it goes, it will all be getting the most out of the least. And that is something Randy Orton is exceptionally talented at.
He's entering his Tanahashi phase. Like that was one of the highlights of this entire match for me, was to see Randy sell his back. And it's also worth noting how they've now laid mats around the ring, so it's no longer just like metal.
That was insane that they did that with the original incarnations. Like, yeah. It was like a really.
And this is pro wrestling. You can make anything feel like it's hard. And this was evidenced by Randy Orton tonight. Even though he did the move on a mat, you could have sworn this was the most devastating bump he's ever taken.
That's it. Lashley spears LA Knight, who rolls out of the ring. And then there's a back suplex to Knight by Randy, who's, again, just selling his back off of everything he does. Logan Paul is the final entrant, and Owens attacks him before he exits the pod. Somehow Kevin Sucks is written on Logan's pod. So I guess he snuck in both brass knuckles and a Sharpie. Yeah, into the pod. Lashley sends Owens through a pod, then spears Logan Paul through a pod. This was nuts. And the crowd chants, "Thank you, Bobby." Just made like this pod exploded.
And he injured his arm, re-injured his arm off the spear.
Yeah. I'll take Randy's spot over Bobby's to sell the injured body part.
Or Logan's.
Yeah, or Logan's. Drew hits Lashley with a Claymore and then puts him in the ring, hits him with a second one, and Lashley is the first man out. Knight then stops an RKO, kind of hits a blunt force trauma, doesn't get all of it, and then hits one to Drew when literally out of nowhere comes AJ Styles. And you're like, where the hell did this guy come from? But they covered it. Like maybe he entered when Lashley was being exited from the ring and the door was open. So they gave you a reason for it. And
it would be the only way he'd be able to enter. It's not like he can climb up from underneath the ring in the chamber.
Maybe, he was, smuggled from like, who knows where. So AJ has a chair, and not only was AJ back, but so I think there were like a dozen more camera cuts than there were chair shots because I was seeing like triple at this hour. So AJ just murders LA Knight, and Drew just lands on top and covers LA Knight as AJ is escorted out. That's a long trip for AJ to just ruin this man's chances at the at WrestleMania. But I mean, well worth it, I guess, if it works out.
So, I mean, obviously these two have been in a feud for quite a while now, but Knight cost AJ his qualifying match, and I guess I had suspected that AJ would cost Knight his, and I guess AJ must have missed the flight to Raw to cost LA Knight his qualifying match, so it necessitated this entire flight to Australia just to cost him the match.
That's I'd be kicking myself if I could have done this on Raw and avoided having to go to Australia on my weekend off. But hey, he made the sacrifice here, and we'll probably get a Mania match out of it. So you got to think of like that in storyline form. Owens hits cannonballs to Drew and Orton, and then goes for the swanton, lands on Drew's knees, and the Claymore gets stopped by a pop-up powerbomb. He stuns Logan Paul. Owens then stops an RKO, and after a stunner attempt, it's countered. Randy hits the RKO, eliminating Owens. So we're down to Orton, Drew, and Logan Paul. And Logan Paul reveals that he has brass knuckles, and they go to this close-up of Logan Paul, which sets up the RKO out of nowhere. Really well shot, the way they did this, and pins Logan Paul. So he's gone. And with that, there's a draping DDT onto Drew. He's calling for the RKO, but it's blocked. Hits a spine buster, again, to the injured back of Randy. And he sets up for the Claymore, but Orton collapses. And out of nowhere comes Logan Paul, who hits Randy with the brass knuckles as he's still in the ring. And Drew pins Randy Orton in 36 minutes and 53 seconds. So it will be Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. More than even the match, I really enjoyed the booking of this, because at the end of it, you pretty much had everyone's WrestleMania slot lined up. We know of Rollins and Drew. Obviously, they're going to do something with Logan and Randy. The only question mark would be Kevin Owens. If he's involved in that or something else, you're most likely getting AJ and LA Knight. And I would say Lashley, who was kind of odd man out in this, him and the Prophets seem tied with the Final Testament, that you pretty much have a good idea of all the directions here. And I thought that was the most effective part of what was like a very good chamber match. I wouldn't say it was like blow away great, but the booking was pretty sound for setting up your various destinations.
I agree with that. Yeah, I thought a good chamber match overall. I thought everybody had a pretty strong presence in terms of character in the match. No one really felt left out or forgotten. As I mentioned earlier, I thought one of the highlights was Orton selling that lower back, which I thought was very, very well done throughout the entire thing. Lashley's arm injury was pretty effectively used as well, coming from last night over to tonight and breaking off into that carrying cross program. I was surprised that Logan got pinned by Randy Orton, because I thought for sure that, Logan would have gotten pinned by Kevin, or I thought Logan and Kevin Owens would have had like a bit more of a concrete sort of interaction to lead to whatever program that they would have. Turns out they have plans for Randy Orton versus Logan Paul, which it could be a three-way with Kevin Owens, but I actually don't mind the idea of a singles match between Orton and Logan Paul, because it feels fresher to me, and it feels like a big time potential WrestleMania type of level match. Logan took a lot of punishment in this match, between several bumps through the cell, that spear from Lashley. I thought he did perfectly well here. The work in the match here was, I thought, better than the women's, but I kind of felt like the women's match made better use of the structure. Both of them I thought were good matches overall, but this one, very effective in terms of booking.
Yeah, I guess, again, the question mark would be Kevin Owens and where he fits. I mean, I would certainly look at the singles match as a lot more interesting than a three-way. I mean, the ideal scenario would be, you have Randy and Kevin Owens against the Paul brothers. That would be your way to go.
Interesting.
I think Jake Paul has a fight coming up pretty soon, though.
Yeah. Maybe KSI.
Yeah.
Or Jeff.
Okay. Loser has to bathe themselves in prime energy.
Oh, awful.
Be like that orange, what was it? The the match Jericho and Orange Cassidy did with the vat of orange juice, but you do it
Right.
with Prime.
Yeah.
These are the things Randy has come back with, like brainstorming ideas.